Good morning. As Les has already introduced me, my name is Moira Lamb, and I'm a business analyst in the health and safety team at Oil and Gas UK. And this morning I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the size and shape study. And it has already been referred to a couple of times this morning. And the hope by the end of this presentation is that I'll encourage you to want to take part, and also I'll give you enough information to take back to your work sites and get your colleagues involved. This is a joint study that we're running with between Oil and Gas UK and Robert Gordon's University, and I'm the representative on that study from Oil and Gas UK. And you see the gentleman on screen there is Robert Ledingham. He's the actual lead on this project from the scientific side, and he's from Robert Gordon's University. And how this study is working is that it runs through what's known as a knowledge transfer partnership. So that means that it's partly government funded and it's been partly funded by the industry itself. So what exactly is it that we have to do? Well, RGU has determined that we need to sample around 600 male offshore workers. And the purpose for this is that we'll use that data set to inform the future design of offshore equipment and infrastructure. And that's such things as corridor widths, accommodation facilities, muster stations, survival clothing, as I already spoken about, helicopter and lifeboat capacities, and the long list of safety equipment. And one of the outputs from the project is we want to create a database of all the data we've collected, and this will be a sort of profile of the size and shape of the offshore workforce. And the desire is that that will then be used by designers going forward. So why are we doing this study now? Well, a similar study was last conducted back in 1985, and that was led by Light and Dingwall, who conducted the study RGIT. And because this was done so long ago, they were restricted to traditional tools such as measuring calipers and measuring tapes. So not only do we have an aged data set, but we also have a restricted data set purely because of the tools that they had available to them. We also know from other research that the offshore workforce is generally different from the general UK population, in that they tend to be around 14% heavier. And we also know from back in 2009 data that the average weight of an offshore worker has also increased by 19%. And we can see that by looking at the chart on screen. So from the graph, you can see that the line in green is the original data, and that is showing the average weight of the offshore workforce from 1985. And the data in the blue is the data from 2009. And you can see that that blue chart has dramatically shifted to the right. And those markers on screen now, they currently mark the average weight, the 95th and the 99th centiles of the original data. But if we now move those, you can see that they've also dramatically shifted to the right. So you can see that there's been a 19% increase in the average weight, and there's been a 23% increase in the 95th and 99th centile. So this graph is not only telling us that overall the population is getting heavier, but those heaviest individuals are getting proportionally heavier also. And this is also represented by the fact that the blue graph has a much longer tail-off period than the green. So how are we going to achieve this data? Well, as I said, Light and Dingwall used tools that were available to them at their time. We now are much more fortunate in that we have 3D technology. And you're seeing this used a lot more now in the film industries and the gaming industries. And I will show you the scanner during lunch break if you want to see that. So the kind of advantages we have over 3D technology is that it's portable. See, it's on the table over there. It's just a scanner and a laptop. So we can come to the workforce. It's fast. The technique of scanning is a lot easier and simple to learn. The calipers and measuring tapes are a bit more fidgety. And also probably one of the best benefits we have of using this is that we can take unlimited measurements from this data set, and we can do that post-data collection. So what that means is if we originally set out to do sort of neck circumference, and then we changed and we said we want to know the average leg length, we don't need to start up another study, and we don't need to go back and invite those participants back. We can simply do that from the data that we have. So I just want to highlight some of the initial findings that we've identified during the calibration stage. So if you look at the chart along the top, this is illustrating that clothing has a direct influence on an individual's size and shape. So if you look at that in a form-fitting, that's just a person as they are with no clothing instructions, so they're 100%. If you then add on a survival suit onto that, you're looking around about a 71% increase in that individual's total volume. If we look at the image on the bottom, that's now looking at a person's footprint space, so that's your blueprint essentially. And you can see the image in the blue is in form-fitting clothing, and the image in the red is wearing a survival suit. So by putting on a survival suit, that's almost doubling a person's space requirements. And these are sort of key things that we need to identify and that designers need to understand if they're designing something such as a muster area. So that's a little bit about the study. And I just want to move on to if you actually want to participate yourself. So this is an entirely voluntary study. If you want to take part now, you can sign up. If you turn up on the day and you don't want to take part anymore, that's not a problem. You just let us know. And because it's a research project ran with RGU, we are under some strict ethics rules. So there's like a little bit of an admin process to begin with. You'll have to read a participant information sheet, which just kind of details what will actually happen on the day. And then you'll have to sign a consent form. And that's literally just you signing to say that you're happy to be scanned. So we'll start off with a couple of simple measurements. We'll take your height and your weight. And your height, that will allow us to correct the best survival suit for you to take part in the study. And your weight, if you think back to the blue graph that I showed you, we're only taking a 600 sample size. So we need to make sure that that is representative across all those weight categories. So our kind of tactic at the moment is, we're at the beginning of the project, so we're going to scan whoever wants to be involved. But we will have to, at some point, review that data, and we'll have to then pinpoint the heaviest and the smallest individuals. So once we take those, we're then on to measuring your shape. And that is where we use the 3D scanner. So we'll take the scans in 3 different postural positions. One is arms and legs by your side. Second, arms and legs apart. And then in a sitting position. And that just gives us a good variation between the different measurements and the shape that the body takes up. So we'll do one set wearing a survival suit and lap jacket, and another set wearing form-fitting clothing. And what we mean by this is cycling shorts. They'll be worn on top of your underwear. And the reason we do this part of the study is that allows us to take the minimum space requirement someone takes up. It's not obscured by any clothing. And we'll then move on to a kind of second part of the study. This is where you'll be asked if you want to take part in an egress test. And this is where we'll ask you to pass 5 various size frames over yourself whilst wearing a survival suit. And what this will allow us to do is this will allow us to determine which measurement variables can be used to predict an individual's ability to egress through a space. And roughly, we're saying this takes around 20 minutes of your time. The scanning itself is relatively quick. It's more the time taken to get changed between the survival suit. So how does the scanner actually work itself? Well, I will demonstrate it during the lunch break so you can come over and see it. It's simply a little handheld device connected to a laptop and works similar to a camera. So it has a lens and a white light flashing source. And what the light does is that projects a kind of squared pattern out. And when we pass that over your body, that is breaking up that pattern and sending a signal back to the computer. So we'll ask you, when you come to be scanned, to stand completely still. It is important that you stand still, particularly if we're scanning your face. You might end up with 2 noses or double the amount of chins that you actually wanted. This is something we can remove later with the software. However, it just makes it a little bit more tricky. So Rob and I are aware that it is hard to stand completely still. So we do try and scan you as quick as we can. And it is really, really quick. It's under a minute for each scan. So typically, how we do that to break that up is we'll scan you in 2 halves. So we'll start from the front and work our way around to the back. We'll come back to the front and we'll work our way around the other side. So essentially what we end up with is 2 halves of an individual on the screen. We'll then use the software to align those 2 images, and we'll kind of clean it up. And this will give us the one fused image, as you can see here in the green. That's not a particularly clean scan. It's one we're just using for demonstration purposes. But if I show you images on the computer, you can get really, really detailed scans. And it really determines is how much time you spend scanning the person and how much frames you take. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, okay, it sounds good, but why should I get involved? Well, the biggest benefit for you is that you're kind of playing your part to positively influence the design of future equipment. And it's relatively quick and easy for you. You just turn up as you are, and Rob and I will do the majority of the work. And as a nice little incentive, we can give you away a 3D image of yourself. So this is purely if you want to. You don't have to receive an image of yourself. I've been doing this in the office, and everyone finds it quite cool to get this. So what it is, we'll just send you an email afterwards with your image attached and a link to download our free software. And when you do that, you can literally, kind of, as seen on the screen here in the gentleman in the purple, you can move yourself around the screen, turn yourself 360 degrees, turn yourself upside down, whatever it is you want to do. And it's just a nice little thing if you want to take home to show your family and friends. I should say at this point is that that's the only reason we'll take a kind of contact email address from you, is to send you a scan. Other than that, the scans used for the data set are completely anonymized. So there's no measurements that will ever come back to you individually. So last, I just want to say, hopefully I've given you enough food for thought and also an interest in wanting to take part in this study. So as I say, I will be demonstrating the scanner at lunchtime, so you can come and talk to myself. Or Rob and I's details are on the screen. You can contact us and we will get back in touch with you. And currently we're kind of doing this through medical providers, training providers. We're looking to go to the heliports, and a couple of companies have offered us to go into their offices and take part. So the study really is dependent on you guys wanting to get involved and play your part. So thank you very much.